welcome back again to Breakout Room number 1. I'm pleased to be your host here. We'll start this breakout session. Mr. Su Lianjie, the Principal Analyst of ABI Research, who will be our moderator for this breakout session. Mr. Su is responsible for orchestrating research related to robotics, AI, and machine learning. He has worked previously in healthcare organizations and held several positions within them. Together with him, we have Mr. Khai Bo, Vietnam Country Manager of Arcstone, who has a background in industrial system engineering and has been with Arcstone since 2015. We next have Mr. Sanjay Saini, co-founder of Stemly.ai, a platform for supply chain and finance corporations. He was the Vice President for Supply Chain in Anaplan, overseeing the Asia-Pacific region. Together with him, we have Dr. Pepe Colon, Chairman of RAIN JSC. He is tuning in today directly from the USA. I hope he is still awake at this hour and is a new glove manufacturer in Vietnam. He was a former US attorney, but has since ventured into creating a larger scale, up-to-date manufacturing facility in Vietnam. We next have Mr. Sakthivel Narayasamy, CEO of Galactic Advanced Engineering, Sdn Bhd. He has a very colorful profile with many years spent in Siemens and also a veteran at Industrial Transformation Asia Pacific. Mr. Long Duan rounds up the panel with being the representative of Cybernet Asia for the last 4 years. He has an E&E background and a master's in computational engineering. That contributed to his knowledge in unlocking the secrets of Industry 4.0. Mr. Su, take it over.
All right. Thank you, Lynn. Good day, everyone. Depending on where you are, a very good morning, afternoon, and evening. Welcome once again to the Vietnam Industry 4.0 Forum, brought to you by Constellar Exhibitions. Just in case you're not aware where you are, this is the panel session focusing on the product innovation through Industry 4.0, pushing capabilities into electronics and electrical manufacturing, automotive, and medical technology sector. My name is Su Lianjie. I'm a Principal Analyst at ABI Research, and I'm also your moderator for this panel session. Before we start, just a few housekeeping rules. All attendees are muted. If you have any question, please type your question into the Q&A box. Remember to state your name, organization, as well as the person you want to direct your question to. Today, we'll be talking about the adoption of Industry 4.0 in Vietnam across different verticals. I think primarily we want to explore how Industry 4.0 accelerate product innovation in all these verticals that I mentioned just now. As you all are already probably very well aware, Vietnam is already the home to some of the world's largest electrical and electronics companies. More investment are already coming in, such as producing earphones for Apples and LCDs for Sharp. At the same time, the Vietnam automotive industry has grown significantly in recent years. For example, Vingroup has just inaugurated its first VinFast factory in June 2019, making it the first sort of a domestic automotive factory in Vietnam. Most importantly, the factory itself is not only state-of-the-art, but also in line with Industry 4.0 practices and standards. Furthermore, Vietnam's medical device industry or medical equipment industry is also one of the most promising sectors to attract foreign investment due to the country's development as well as rising demand for adequate medical care and equipment. Hence, in this panel, our panelists will be able to share their insights on some of the current hurdles and gaps within the Industrial 4.0 adoptions, followed by some of the successful Industrial 4.0 deployments, market trends, as well as best practices. So without further ado, I would like to first introduce our panelists to all of you. First of all, we have Dr. Pepe Colon, Chairman and co-founder of RAIN JSC. Dr. Pepe, would you like to do a quick introduction of yourself to the audience? Dr. Pepe, you might be muted, so you might want to unmute yourself. My apology.
Yeah, sorry about that. No problem. Go ahead. Hello. Yes, I have lived in Southeast Asia for over 25 years. Spent most of my time in Hong Kong, and for the last 3 years, I've lived in Vietnam, where I have undertaken the process of opening up a nitro glove production plant, utilizing state-of-the-art 4.0 industry standard technologies ranging from AI to IoT devices of various types. My background is in law. I was a lawyer for many years. And so I bring to Vietnam my knowledge of both the compliance issues from a production perspective and representing numerous clients. One of my clients, Monsanto, to pharmaceutical firms. I bring that knowledge to Vietnam, and I like to share my experiences and what we do from an industry 4.0 perspective with this panel.
Yep, thank you so much, Dr. Pepe. I think Ling has mentioned just now, I saw, can you share with the audience where you are right now?
Well, right now I am in my ranch in Austin, Texas. And it's been 25 years since I've been in the US. So it's not much has changed here.
Appreciate it. It must be really late your time. So thank you so much.
No problem. I'm glad to be here. And I'm still on Asia time. I've only been here since the 28th. So I'm still on Vietnam's time.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. So next up, we have Mr. Sanjay Saini, co-founder of Stanley AI. Sanjay, you want to kindly introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Thanks, Sulian. So just a quick round of introduction. I started as a mechanical engineer long time back, and I was on the shop floor with Tata Steel, managing production for cold roll mill, which we used to supply to automotive and other companies. And from there, I moved into the ERP supply chain domain. And I've been, for last 25 years, I've been in supply chain technology space, worked with Oracle, worked in the US, worked in Singapore. And I have seen the shift of supply chain technology over the space. So happy to kind of share with you. Now we have formed a company which is taking the latest and the greatest in AI and machine learning and digitizing and digitalization of supply chain and finance. So that's what I do.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Mr. Sativel Narayanasamy from Galactic Advanced Engineering. Mr. Sati, you want to introduce yourself and your company as well?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So glad to be here. Nice crowd. So let me explain. My name is Sativel. I'm primarily an electrical engineer. As Mr. Sanjay said, for a long time ago. Today I run a company. I do industrial automation across the board. We work for pharmaceutical companies. We work for metal industry. We work for food industry, and the list goes on, because automation is applied across the board. And we do a lot of industry 4.0 solutions, and that's why I'm here to share some knowledge.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Then we have Lon Duan, country representative of Cybernet Asia. Lon, you want to give a quick introduction?
Okay. Hello, everyone, and very glad to be here. So my name is Long. I am Vietnamese. I have the background in electronic engineering, and then I have several years working in the simulation industry. And so now I'm the country rep of the Cybernet Asia, and we are a technology company that provides a simulation solution. And so basically we help the company out there to optimize their products, to improve their design capability and having more innovation.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's basically about me.
Great. Good to know. And then obviously last but not least, we have Mr. Kai Voon, the Vietnam country manager for Archstone. Kai, do you want to say hi and sort of introduce yourself and your company to the audience?
Thank you, LJ. So hi, everyone. So my name is Kai. I'm a Vietnamese as well, but I've been in Singapore for the past 15 years. So I have a background in this industrial system engineering. And I joined Archstone, I think, about 6 years ago. We're a manufacturing execution system provider. And I think one thing that Wilson, my CEO, that's just presented just now, noticed is that whenever there's a project in Vietnam, I'm going to be there and say, you know what, let this project be under me. So eventually he say, okay, I know what you want. You know, Vietnam is always in my heart. So right now I'm the Vietnam country manager, and my long-term goal is always to try and move and increase presence of Archstone in Vietnam. to help the digitization and Industry 4.0 transformation in Vietnam in general.
Great. Yeah. And I guess with that, thank you once again to all the panelists, and we'll start with the question that I have prepared. I guess it's very natural to start with you, Kai, sort of as a provider of MES solution, MES solution, as well as sort of your familiarity with the culture and the market dynamics in Vietnam. What are some of the gaps that are specific to E&E and automotive and medtech manufacturing in Vietnam that you have come across so far?
So I think Wilson touched a little bit on this point in his presentation earlier, but I would just kind of reiterate. One thing that we've noticed the gap is that, as there is an increased emphasis on Industry 4.0 transformation, from an organizational perspective and from a government perspective, usually organization management, they understand the importance of this. And they have been putting in efforts to try and implement this I 4.0 transformation projects. But the gap is that, the general workforce, the labor that they have, the personnel, the teams that they have might not be ready for this. So from our experience through our engagement with a lot of manufacturers in Vietnam itself, one of the key challenges that we have is that the workforce is sometimes not technical savvy enough. There is a lot of resistance coming from the operators themselves in trying to use the toolset to try and maximize it. And I think this is a problem that would need very strong cultural shift within the organization itself to address, because we can provide the best solution in the world. We can provide all the tools that you need to capture data, to digitize your operation. But if it doesn't fit, and if the operators are not actively using them, then it becomes a situation of garbage in, garbage out, where you don't use the tool correctly. The data you collect is just not accurate, and it doesn't provide any downstream value for whatever data that you've collected. So I think the human factor is something that is very important, and it's a current gap that is usually overlooked when it comes to I 4.0 projects in Vietnam. And it's not a specific problem to Vietnam. It's something that we've observed in a lot of the Southeast Asia countries that we work with as well.
Yep. I think sort of there's definitely one of the key factors that has always been raised in a lot of the digital transformation projects in all of this region. But I guess from your point of view, what are some of the effort that's been done by Ashton, let's say, to sort of increase that capabilities among the labor force, or sort of increase that awareness, or maybe provide the digital trainings to the employees?
Yeah, definitely. So I think Arkstone as an MES provider, we recognize this, and we do recognize that for the Southeast Asia country in general, there is a lack of digital savviness and Industry 4.0 specific knowledge. So this is why we have done a lot of these educational pushes with the countries around the region. We're doing this in collaboration with the Singapore government, we're doing this with Indonesia government, and we're trying to do the same thing with the Vietnamese government as well, is that we are providing free MES toolsets for the university so that they can train and they can build educational courses around this. And the intention is that we want this savviness, we want this familiarity with MES solutions and Industry 4.0 solutions in general to start being cultivated when they're still students in universities, right? And we're setting up training programs so that these students can go out and be attached to different manufacturers out there and try and implement and drive this kind of Industry 4.0 projects. It may be very small scale at the beginning, but it is something to start with. And the hope that we're hoping for is that in the future, if this collaboration can scale up to a more substantial scale, then we're training the future generation that in a couple of years would be able to be the internal champions that would drive this Industry 4.0 transformation projects for all the manufacturers out there.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Kai. So aside from the human factor, I think there's a lot of discussion around digital backbones over the course of the entire forum just now. So maybe Sanjay, would you want to comment on the sort of the challenges from sort of the digital backbone side of things, and then sort of do you perceive the same challenges coming from the supply chain perspective?
Sure. So it is challenge is always going to be there, and the reason is that when we talk about innovation, there are 3 or 4 types. We need to kind of look at it detail level. So there's product innovation, right? We need to look at that. So when you talk about product innovation, is it a new product? Is it disrupting something, right? You're looking from a process point of view. Are you innovating on the process side of it? What is the current collaboration between supplier and customer? Are they all communicating in a better fashion, right? Then you have the marketing innovation challenges, that if you want to kind of promote your product, what do you do about it, right? And the fourth one, I think, which Kaiwo alluded, is the organization, right? So you can see that there are different types of innovation which are there, which can be done. And all of these are also the challenges on the other side of things, right? If I want to product innovate, then do I have the right skills to create new products? Do I need to collaborate with different companies outside Vietnam to build something? Do I have the capabilities to design these things? Do I have the experience to manufacture these things? So that's where the other aspect of the product and the process innovation comes in there. But when I look at supply chain, what I see is that there are a lot of changes which has happened when we talk about supply chain. The one key thing which I see is that we used to have very stable demand, so to say. When you used to sell products, you knew what you're selling, how much they're going to sell. The stability was there. That is now not anymore, and for a variety of reasons. It's because of e-commerce, because of you look at the business which is done today on e-commerce is about 30%, right? 30 to 40%, and some of them are purely D2C customers. So how do I build a supply chain which was based on selling via distributors or via retail, right? So that is where I see that technology can play a big role in terms of how we can automate, how we can add recommendation, how we can tell what is the next best action to be taken. And that's where I see that the challenges can be addressed from a supply chain point of view. There are many more examples, but I think I want to just give a flavor of what are the things which you can do both on the demand side, and there are challenges on the supply side. Can I optimize my supply chain? Can I have my product launches pull earlier, or can I push it out? There are many things which you can do on those side of things. And then how do I optimize my supply chain? Where should I put my product? Should I hold it in the warehouse? Should I hold it in the finished goods? Should I maintain it elsewhere? How do I kind of minimize the value addition cost to reach my customers? So that's where what I'm seeing, how these technologies can actually help customers or manufacturers to kind of minimize, so have a better demand sensing and a better supply response to it. Yeah. So I think that's kind of how I see this dynamics changing in the market and where these technologies can play a role. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And I think sort of with the COVID situation right now, that definitely accelerated a lot of this digital transformation process as well. So I think sort of bringing in that COVID-19 perspective, I would like to move to the next panelist. So Dr. Colon, as a sort of like a medical equipment and device manufacturer, I can probably assume that COVID-19 has sort of largely accelerated the demand in your industry, as well as sort of the sort of implementation of Industry 4.0 tools and solutions. So I guess if that's the case, what are some of the more popular Industrial 4.0 tools that you came across mainly for product innovation?
Okay, so with the outbreak of COVID and the various variants, we have to look at production from a process of limiting the human factor as much as possible. There's nothing worse than a doctor not having the gloves to do surgery, or a nurse not having the gloves to examine a patient.
Yeah.
And there are no excuses for not having those products in the market. So we have to take a very firm position and ensure that our system is fully automated, and that we have the proper precision, predictive maintenance, and proactive measures in place utilizing AI, IoT devices. The whole COVID situation, it was a wake-up call for all of us. And one of the things we learned is that you take Top Glove, for instance. Top Glove was shut down because one employee got COVID and they weren't sure how many other employees got COVID. So they had shut down the whole factory to avoid an outbreak of 3,000 employees. Whereas had, say for instance, Top Glove had some sort of social distancing or technology introduced using sensors and some sort of contact tracing technology, they could have been able to identify where specific employees were at a specific time, who had contact with who, and if any of those employees or any employee had any contact with any so-called positive tested person. Had they utilized AI and the technologies that are available, that factory would have never been shut down. This is one of the leading manufacturers of gloves. So we have to take this problem of COVID serious and learn from it, because COVID, I mean, they call it COVID today, but a few years back it was, what was it? SARS. I mean, problems aren't going anywhere, they're only going to get worse. Now we have a new variant of COVID called Nu, and no vaccine can protect us against it. So factories that like ours and like all of us who are producing products that are imperative for the safety and welfare of all people, we have to be 100%. We have to produce. There's no excuse for non-performance. So I hope
that's an extremely fair point. And I think sort of, especially when we are talking about Vietnam, which has one of the, I guess, most stringent COVID containment measures across the region, I think having that minimization of human factor in your workforce is extremely crucial. And I sort of wanted to pose the same question to Lon as well. Lon, are you sort of seeing the same thing when you're dealing with your simulation clients? I presume most of them are in automotive manufacturing, but yeah, I'll let you take the floor.
Okay, if talking about the simulation kind of thing, because we are the solution simulation software provider, so we are more into the product innovation kind of perspective. And we have been seeing a lot of changes during the COVID-19. Maybe you guys already know that, like the Apple iPhone, right? They increased the price, which is definitely not good news, right? And to be more specific in the electronic and automotive, in which I'm working on a lot. So for the electronics, basically, we are going through something called the global chip crisis. The shortage of the material, the delivery time is a lot longer, and then there's a growing demand of all these kind of electronics, the smartphone, the computer. But then still in Vietnam, electronic for the last 3 to 4 years, is one of the fastest growing industry in Vietnam. And thanks to the government, we sign all these kind of free trade. We have all this improving in the policy. So we're having more attention from the investor. But then there's one thing, that the electronic industry have been dominated by the MNC for a long time, right? Not like ST, microelectronics, previous one, then Intel, right? Because not only the cost to build a factory is very expensive, like $1 billion, but also the quality and the accuracy of the chip have to meet a very certain standard. So that's why until now, I believe only very few of the local Vietnamese enterprise can really make a chip from the start to the finish, including all the R&D activity and the productions. The good news is, for the last 1 year, I have been working with my customer. They are Korean, they are Japanese. Previously, they have the manufacturing facility in Vietnam, but then recently they start to see the benefit of bringing the R&D center next to their manufacturing facility. So they decided to build one in Vietnam, and that is definitely going to enhance the Vietnam electronic industry. Yeah, so we help our client to improve their design capability. Then going to the automotive, it's also, it has some kind of similar situation with the electronics. I mean, they are booming. If you go on Vietnam, you go to Vietnam and you see on the road right now, there will be a lot of car on the road. There will be like leader like Toyota, Honda, Taco, they have been here for a while. And then we have the new guy, the emerging player like VinFast, a local Vietnamese branch. The problem with the automotive industry now for Vietnam is that even though we are one of the, I believe that we are one of the 4th largest automotive manufacturer in Southeast Asia, but still we have a very low, we call it the average localization rate. This means that most of the part made in Vietnam, design in Vietnam is more into not so high-tech part, the chair, the wing, all this, the wheel, sorry, and we still not be able to invest in those core and high technology, let's say the engine, the transmission system. Yeah. And the domestic production costs for the part in Vietnam, they're still higher than importing the whole unit from other country. The reason is because we have been importing a lot of the raw materials that used to manufacturing those material. They used to manufacturing the local part. So yeah, that is the current problem with the electronics and the automotive right now. And but definitely there would be a good news. There will be a good news because the government are focusing more and more on improving the policy, improving the infrastructure, and like Khai just now, he also mentioned about the workforce, the high-skilled workforce. I'm working with the several of my clients, and then they start to building more and more training center to upgrade their workforce skills, right? Because they see the benefit. If they talk to me a lot. They say, "Hey, Long, if I decided to implement your system, then I have to build a team, a high-skilled team, in order to run it, in order to benefit for long run." That I see a lot. And I also know there are around 40% of the FDI firm now in Vietnam, they are quite very difficult to hire high-skilled workers.
Yep, no, very good.
Yeah.
Appreciate the insight on. So I guess up to this point, we have sort of came across multiple sort of solutions and sort of multiple gaps within the implementation of digital transformation. So I guess sort of going to Sakthi, just want to get your view on sort of how do you normally look at the Industrial 4.0 solution from an ROI perspective. Like when you go to a client and then when you sort of try to tell them that, hey, this is good for you, you need to look at both the supply and the demand side, and then sort of on the product innovation side, how do you sort of, I guess, quantify or also explain to them what's the ROI for a particular digital transformation project to be?
Thank you, Ajay. Let me answer this by what I've been doing for the past few years. So I've been going almost literally around the world, telling people that Industry 4.0 actually pays for itself. That's my message, okay? Dr. Pepe said it very succinctly. When you automate a factory and you have a proper Industry 4.0 solution implemented, it actually saves you a lot of time, energy, and manpower, which eventually comes back in returns of money. So, in other words, I have seen, for example, just to give you one simple example, we have implemented in a tire manufacturer some simple Industry 4.0 solution that saves them approximately 600,000 ringgit, which is 150,000 USD per annum, just by implementing. We didn't change anything. There's nothing changed. That means they're still using the same equipment and machineries, but with the Industry 4.0 sensors and solutions, IIoT sensors, and a few devices to moderate the operation of it. And that's it. And it's a recurring income. Not that they saved 150,000 USD this year. Next year, they save another 150,000 USD. That's just one simple implementation. We have repeated this for example, in the metal industry, and same results. Hundreds of thousands of dollars saved in terms of consumption of what they were doing. And typically, I see that most Industry 4.0 solutions pay for themselves anywhere between 5 months and 18 months. Okay, 5 months being very, I mean, you had a very lousy production. Let's put, I know it's a strong word to use, but if you had a lot of holes, if you were using compressed air, and there was 10 holes along the pipe which was feeding to a machine, then you're literally throwing money in the air. Okay, so when we plug that hole, we just save them that much of money, and sometimes we see 5 months payback. And if you are running a very tight operation, then perhaps it will take about 18 months to pay back. But in almost every case, we have seen a payback. Okay.
No, completely agree. I think for the rest of the panelists, do you want to add on to Mr. Sakti's point?
Yeah, actually, to be honest, that is how we also go to the market. So, one of the things which we look out for is the business outcome. Yeah. So when I talk to my customers, it's not about selling software, because, everybody understands what software, they have been using software for a long period of time. The point is that when I go and talk to supply chain heads or the finance CFOs, I actually want to deliver value to them. And the way I do it is let's say I start with the plant and show them the value. So for example, when I implemented, procurement and production optimization for a particular customer, we delivered about $3.5 million for a plant in Indonesia. And then now we are doing it in Malaysia. So I firmly believe that, if we are not delivering business outcome, we should do something else. So, the technology is there to leverage. The other customer we worked, which is a very large energy and mining company, and they spend a lot of money in spares, right? And anybody who's from manufacturing, spare parts cost is very, very high. It's part of the CapEx and OpEx, which is going in. And when we work with them, we saw a savings of about 11% in the range of about $20 million of just, the spare parts, which they were maintaining at a very high level, but, still, so we actually maintain the service level or increase the service level with the reduced number of spare parts in there. So we firmly believe in that. And that's, I've been in this space for the last 20 years. The idea is that to leverage how can we leverage this new technologies to help and deliver business value. I think that is the key thing. And that's how the customer should also look at the manufacturers, or the customer should also look at from that perspective. And today everybody asks for ROI, irrespective of, if it's a $1 savings or, millions of dollars of saving. We need to address that as a software company. Yeah.
Yep. Dr. Pepe, sort of coming back to you, as a foreign investor in Vietnam, I think what are some of the, gaps that you have observed, and some of the advantages that, or sort of the best practices that you have seen in Vietnam that sort of accelerate Industrial 4.0 adoption, be it coming from the private sector or coming from the government itself?
Well, Vietnam is open to change. It's resilient, and people are open to learning. And to what Kai said, you have to enhance the savviness of the workers, and educating the workers is important. So as a foreigner coming into Vietnam to open up a business, I look at my workforce, my manpower, and how I can improve that. When I speak of making a factory that's fully automated, yes, okay, so we're not employing a lot of people. I've taken a system that would otherwise require 4,000 employees to run it, and now only have 100 people running that system. So what do I do with the surplus in revenue? What we do is we take that surplus and we provide education and training for engineers, for biochemists. And instead of giving people jobs sweeping floors and washing windows, we'd rather educate them in alignment with what Kai said, so that they can provide a better, more productive service. So enhancing the manpower is important. And to what my colleagues before just mentioned, we have to leverage AI. And as a foreigner, we have to leverage all of the 4.0 industry standard technologies, from the AI to the IoT. What we do at RAIN is we're not just selling a product, we're selling confidence. This product that we're putting on the market could either save your life or contribute to killing you if it's not properly manufactured, if it has pinholes in it, if it's not properly sterilized. I mean, clearly, by limiting the number of manpower, you're reducing human error. When you reduce human error, you enhance product quality, you enhance, or should I say, optimize productivity. You also reduce shutdowns. So these are factors as a foreign investor. I want to always make sure that our factory is up and running and that we're selling confidence in our products, leveraging again the AI and IoT devices that presently exist, and finding solutions not just with what we know, but when we talk about innovation, we're talking about something that challenges the status quo.
Yes.
In production. So as a foreign investor in Vietnam, I'm always amazed at how open the workforce is to learning new ways. They're not fixed. I don't have to unteach them and then teach them AI and this technology. They're a vessel just ready to receive the knowledge. And this is very crucial, because now I've just reduced the time to uneducate them to re-educate them.
Indeed. And I think having that sort of thirst for knowledge and the discipline to pursue sort of more capabilities has always been sort of ingrained in the Vietnamese culture. And I think having that being supported by the government, obviously, it's a big plus. Now, I'm aware of the time, so I just want to let everybody here, all 5 of you, so just give the audience sort of a little bit of forecast, I guess, on how do you see Industrial 4.0 evolving in Vietnam, let's say for the next 5 years. Just a quick summary, just probably in 2 sentences. Yeah, we'll start with Kai.
Well, I definitely see, the continued growth and expansion of the E&E as well as the auto industry in Vietnam in general, and I mean other manufacturing industry in general as well. And I think with that is going to bring new wins. Is going to bring in the kind of pressure, the kind of incentive for a lot of entities to invest in Vietnam, to kind of bring Industry 4.0 transformation here more aggressively, both from foreign investors, both from foreign technologies that would be setting up their offices, their factories, and that's where the kind of knowledge transfer is going to spread. From a government perspective, where a lot of these new collaborations, a lot of these new educational program can take place as well. So I have very high hopes for Vietnam industry and specifically our progress in Industry 4.0 transformation in the next 5 years. Yeah.
Awesome. That's good news. Long, you want to share your views and forecast?
Okay, for the next 5 years, I'm not really sure, but for the next 10 years, actually, Vietnam government already have a plan to increase the contribution of the manufacturing and the processing industry. So they say that this manufacturing will be accounting for 30% of the GDP of Vietnam, and among that, the high-tech products will be account for half. So you see, we are trying to establish ourselves as one of the top players in among the Asian region, and then we want to be among top 3 Asian country by 2030. So yeah, to all the Asian colleagues and friends out there, watch out! Yeah, Vietnam is growing definitely.
It's great coming from Vietnamese also. Mr. Sakti, your turn.
Yes, I think so long as taken the right word out of my mouth. Basically, Vietnam is a young country, and it's still a young country, and it's become a hub for tech companies or tech growth, and they will continue to invest, and we will see a spike. In fact, it won't be a gradual growth. Between now and 2025, actually, there will be a spike of growth in the Industry 4.0 solutions. that presented. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree as well. Sanjay.
Yeah, so I do sell forecasting software, but not for this one. So so actually we have witnessed how Vietnam has embraced the technology in last 8 years. I've been in Southeast Asia for last 11 years, and one of the first things which happened when the cloud started happening is actually the first deal I would say happened in Vietnam. It was very surprising, but so I've seen the journey, how the growth has been, the skills of the people, how they have grown, and how Vietnamese technologies or skill sets are already available. We use them, and that is what is growing. For Industry 4.0, there is one change which is required, is that you need to know hardware, you need to know software, you need to know network. I think these are three critical components. And if the investment gets done in there, I think Industry 4.0 can really flourish in Vietnam. That's kind of what I think about it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Pepe, you're the final person.
Well, I see high hopes for Vietnam, which is why I chose it to be my final resting place of business. Vietnam has the ability to reach new levels of adaptability and catering to the changing needs of its customers with the flexibility and readiness to take on new market challenges and reach new horizons. Utilizing the wealth of talent and the openness and open-mindedness and embracing of knowledge and new technologies. And what I think also is, what I see in Vietnam is they recognize, although we talk about AI, Vietnamese people recognize the need for the human factor and knowing when to use a human versus a machine. And that's very important. We cannot become too reliant on technology, and we have to know, and I believe Vietnamese people, just by their culture, they have their hands-on people, and I see a lot of prospect for the future in Vietnam from a production perspective.
Awesome. And I think that's all for today. Thank you so much to all the panelists. I mean, for me personally, I learned a great deal from this session. And I think based on the information that I gathered from all the esteemed guests here, I think we are fairly well, we can almost conclude that Vietnam's almost on the right track to this explosion of digital transformation within the country itself. I think we have come across the acknowledgement of the lack of human factor and then perhaps some challenges in terms of building their digital backbones. But then again, there are multiple efforts, be it coming from the governments or from the private sector, trying to push that Industrial 4.0 adoption across different verticals. I guess that's where we should just draw the conclusion and say that it's been a great session. It's been a pleasure to have all of you on board, and I look forward to more interaction with all of you in different sessions moving forward into the future. And I do hope that we get to gather in one place, chatting face to face again at some point. So thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for such a thought-provoking session. Actually, I think I learned even more this time around. The fact that we have a lot of speakers who came from Vietnam and they were able to validate the situation at hand. And I'm sure some of you who have stayed here in this breakout room were able to learn a lot more and probably invest in Vietnam. So thank you very much, Mr. Su and panelists. I'm sure the audiences have learned a lot from you, and so have I. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of Voice of the Markets Vietnam Industry 4.0 Forum. It is also our very last stop. We have rounded the region from Indonesia to Malaysia to Thailand and now finally Vietnam. Thank you for your support, and we hope you have found today's forum insightful and useful.